Welcome to the Thunderdome. Welcome back to the monthly movie marathon. Nick Barrow here. It's a bright light, but it's the light you need to see all of our glory. You kind of have to stare right into it. I'm sorry.
Right into it. So,
but why don't you look at me instead?
Right.
Just as bright.
Just as bright.
Future, just as bright. Nick Barrow, Nova Stream Network.
Peter Gray, the AU Review.
But together, we're High Five, or the monthly movie marathon, which is a podcast you have chosen to select today,
Or we're
to listen to.
Nita or Pick.
I've always thought neat would be nice.
Neat, that is.
Neat would be nice.
Really
I think that otherwise it's pick.
Yeah. I was going to say,
Or if we ever did a massive collab about picking movies to watch, we could call it Neat Pick. This is the last episode of the monthly movie marathon. But no, if you've selected to,
you know, 100% that is something that is going to be discussed. We'll be like, yeah, that's going to be.
I've just put a Teams meeting in both of our calendars for that. But
how did we not think
that's
of that?
fantastic. There we go. Look, hey, I'm not going to say we're not business moguls.
Nick and Pete and Nick's Neat Picks.
Nick and
Pete and Nick's Neat Picks. Come the fuck on,
Let's
internet.
do this.
Go.
Well, we were going to be talking about Mad Max, but now you're just going to hear a 90-minute business meeting. But this is the monthly movie marathon.
Where we marathon movies monthly.
We choose a movie that's coming out for the month of May in the year of our Lord 2024.
It's going to be May.
It's going to be May. And we watch a whole lot of movies leading up to that film's release, essential viewing, so to say. So say it's a movie that's not part of a franchise.
Yeah,
we might
please.
pick a few movies.
Tell me how this works, Nick.
No, but this is for the listeners at home who might be tuning in for the first time.
Very true.
Because this is a movie that has already garnered quite a reaction from audiences who have heard our reactions to it. More on that to come.
Yes.
But if it's a non-franchise movie, we'll throw some movies back and forth to watch. But
for example, last month, April, we did a little movie called The Fall Guy.
Thank you for watching.
The Fall Guy.
The episode, not the film, apparently.
Yeah. The Fall Guy, not part of a franchise.
No.
But if it's not part of a franchise, what the hell do we watch? What do we watch?
We get pretty genius.
We watch, for that movie, we were like, director, David Leitch.
Yep.
Actor, Ryan Gosling. Actress, Emily Blunt. So we chose 3 movies to watch involving...
And that worked out quite well.
Those people.
If you ask me.
It did work out quite well because we got to watch 3 banger movies.
We did. So that's what we do if there's a non sort of IP franchise film.
But when there is an IP franchise like the month of May...
Which is Furiosa.
A Mad Max Saga.
We have a couple of films leading up to this that we can talk about, which is what we're going to do today. On this month of the monthly movie marathon, on this episode of the monthly movie marathon. So,
oh my God, it's the monthly movie marathon of Mad Max.
It's May's Mad Max monthly movie marathon. It's literally a 6M title. So thank you for joining us. First of all, if you're a returning guest,
listening to us,
love you very much.
Waffle on.
This is the show. Like, you love it or leave it. But you guys keep returning.
And thank God we're comfortable.
I know. So last month, we revealed the new showcasing the new background of the wall. But we were sitting in those cheap, shitty IKEA chairs. So I decided on a whim, which in fairness was not necessarily all my idea, but we just picked up these furry bean bags. So you might hear a bit of shuffling in the episode. However,
because every day we're shuffling.
I'm very comfortable.
I'm very
comfortable.
I feel like my posture's pretty great.
I don't feel too bad actually. You are all getting a lot of knee action.
A lot of knee action.
Normally you have to
a lot of thigh. A bit of thigh. A lot of inner thigh. Oh, Pete,
don't you worry about that. I've got plenty more to show. But that's on our after dark.
I love it. Thanks. Like, don't worry. My giant penis will be the more of like, what?
I'm like, Jason Derulo, you're not editing out this bulge.
That is a reference to 0 to 100. So listen to that,
which you should also be listening to.
We're having a good time.
Where are we?
But this is the monthly movie marathon. It is the month of May. The movies we have decided to marathon are the Mad Max Quartet.
At the moment, yeah, we're about to become a quintet.
Quadrilogy. Why would
It's a
I say
quadrilogy,
quartet?
which apparently isn't a real word, though. Apparently, quadrilogy is not a real word.
Oh.
Yes, I found out.
Lies.
So
Lies from Nelly. Lies.
So well, I could have just made that up. I don't know, but we. I don't know. Does anything I say on this show even real? Who knows? But Furiosa: A Mad Max Saga is coming out.
We can reveal we have seen this film.
We are actually, by the time this comes out, no longer under review embargo either. So we are actually going to give smaller, not completely spoiling our reviews completely, because we do want you to go see them on the AU review, Nova Stream, por favor. But stay around to the end of the episode, because you will be getting a much further, more insight into what we think about Furiosa, apart from our viral tweets.
Yeah, I was
Which
just
were
about to say,
viral.
I love that we're talking about the most Australian films, and you decide to go,
Por favor. Because we're an international podcast.
Poor favor. But yeah, our reactions did very well.
It's my most reached tweet of all time.
It's pretty great seeing the numbers.
It's cool to see the people excited for Furiosa. I think that makes me more excited, to be honest. Because, spoiler alert for that, I loved the movie.
Yes.
I
loved the movie
a lot. You've seen it twice.
I've been
now.
fortunate enough to see the film twice now. And it definitely was one that on second viewing was just pushed over from being, I really, really enjoyed this, to like, I kind of fucking loved this.
Yeah, I loved it. Not saying I'm better than you, Pete, but I loved it first go. I didn't need to be seduced twice, but I will be watching it again.
I'm also just going to be like, I was kind of in my own head watching it the first time because I spoke with George Miller.
You did, Dr. George Miller, and we're not going to talk about that. Okay, no, but we absolutely will. So you've got the general rundown of how the podcast works if you're a new listener, because I do think there's going to be a lot of new people coming in for Furiosa.
Yeah, if you read between all of the lines of what we just did then, this is how the podcasts work. We talk a lot of shit.
We just talk shit, and then we will get to the Mad Max movies. But we also like to do a little bit of just monthly debrief for ourselves,
because we barely see each other.
We don't talk to each other or see each other.
We actually hate each other.
There is complete silence until record is hit. We're those sort of prima donnas. But we did both go down to Sydney for the premiere of Furiosa, A Mad Max Saga, which was a fantastic night. Thank you to Warner Brothers for having us. Great to see our friends there, or our friend Tim.
Tim from Popcorn Podcast. My good friend Sefa,
who I met for the first time.
He's an awesome guy.
He was awesome. I still keep in touch with him.
He's
a lovely guy.
He's a big film.
Shout out, because he might be listening. So thanks, Sefa.
He's a big film fan. So,
but it was a fantastic night, huge night. Chris Hemsworth was there.
Anya Taylor-Joy was there
with one of the most record speed costume changes I think I've ever witnessed.
Oh my god! So the dress that she wore was all full of spikes.
Yes.
And we were all thinking...
It was very... How is she going to sit down?
And then George Miller on stage talking about the film very briefly, and he was like, I have to introduce you...
Who I love, by the way, George Miller.
To introduce you to the cast. And obviously, Mr. Hemi C, Chris Hemsworth, walks out in his suit. And we were thinking, here we go. Anya Taylor-Joy is going to come out.
Just going to walk out in this fucking spike suit.
Nah. Hair, flowing, little bit of a shimmy dress, walks out, and I was like, oof, that is
stunning.
That is a quick
change. She is as stunning in real life as she is in the pictures, Peter Gray.
Like when you see her in person, you're just like, you're a real
Chris
person.
Hemsworth, Chris Hemsworth, stud.
Chris Hemsworth is just like, it's unfair
how
attractive he is.
So they were there.
You got really two hot people. And then funnily enough, they're two hot people who in this movie, their looks are not the...
Oh, Anya Taylor-Joy still has her... And then, she definitely gets roughed up throughout the film, I guess, so to say.
Even with Hemsworth's prosthetic nose,
He's ripped.
would still like.
Oh, they do
Would
not
they?
hide his fucking jacked body in this
No.
film. He is shirtless
Thank
for
you,
a lot of
George.
it. So, but we were there at the premiere, which is great. You interviewed George that day, which is fantastic. Yeah, and we both loved the film, so we'll talk about it a little bit more at the end. The interview's been pumping in, which is great. We've done a few really fun ones.
Yeah, so The Way, My Way,
Yes.
with director Bill Bennett.
He made a film. He made a film about himself doing the Camino de Santiago.
He walked the Camino Trail. He wrote a book about it, and then he made a film about it. And it's not really a documentary, but it's not really a structural.
But it's
film
also
either.
not. It's not necessarily him, but it is him. But it's my quote from it that I'm running is that he actually never wanted to make that film.
Yeah, he didn't.
He did not want to make that movie, but he did make what I would say is a touching film. I think audiences will respond well to it. And the interview with him was great.
And then we also spoke to
there's co-directors.
Co-directors of
Little Nas X, Long Live Montero, the Little Nas X documentary coming out.
Documentary / concert film.
Yeah, his first concert
which will be
tour.
out by the time this episode airs. Would have just come out on digital.
No, May 30th it comes out on digital, I think.
I thought it was May 22nd.
No, that's when we release the interviews. Or maybe it is May 22nd.
I think it was May 22nd.
This episode comes out May 16th. So
No, it is May 22nd because they asked me when to reveal my interview, and I said the 21st, and I could.
Whoops. We're going to tell you now that interviews will be coming
By
out
the time
with the
this episode
co-directors.
airs, interviews will be out.
So I interviewed director Carlos Lopez Estrada, who I asked to interview out of the two specifically because he directed a film called Blind Spotting with David Diggs and Rafael Casal. And that movie, I said this to him in the interview, and I genuinely mean this with all my heart, has one of the best movie scenes of the last 20, maybe 30 years in its climax. Have you seen Blind Spotting?
I have not.
Holy shit. I will say this, just the climax of the film is a black guy and a white guy, best friends who confront a police officer who they witness shoot a black kid.
Okay.
But it doesn't go the way you would expect it to go. And I think is one of the best, and Ethan Embry plays the cop. And it is one of the most powerful movie scenes I've seen in the last 30 years, and I had the chance to tell him that. So, but it was a fantastic interview. I didn't mind the documentary either. I think I as someone who I wouldn't call myself a fan of Little Nas X, but found out a lot about Montero, the person, which I thought was quite insightful.
Yeah, I spoke to the other director, Zach Manuel.
Yes,
and I was I as a gay man, like
what?
Sorry.
What the fuck? Could you imagine if one day I was just like,
wait, what?
Not in my house.
Like you just be like, I feel like you're just like you weren't joking the whole time.
All those times you fucked me, you were gay.
I feel so used.
Sorry. Anyway,
but no, I spoke to Zach, and it was like watching the documentary. Like I like Little Nas X's music, but again, I didn't know too much about him. I just think it's really fucking incredible that in 2024 we have a black queer artist who is just unapologetically themselves.
And the documentary talks about it had that effect on
and how
on
much
people
success
as well.
he's had as well.
Yeah, and the movie closes out strong with an industry baby number 2. Like that's pretty fucking. It goes hard. So
it's a really great movie because it's like not just it's not just you watching the concert like it's actually like seeing the impact he's had on people. Like the fact that even all the hate that he gets, he manages to like
how he navigates that. I guess
with like this really like quite dark sense of humor, which is really really funny.
He's funny. He's really funny.
It was a great.
Did you have the same conundrum I did in the interview with like not knowing whether to call him Montero or Little Nas X?
I kept saying
Little Nas X.
I referred to him as. I saw other interviews where they called him Montero, and then the interviewer referred to him as Nas. Okay. So I said Nas.
I kept saying Lil Nas X.
So I wasn't,
and then Carlos kept saying Lil Nas X, and I was like, "Are you just matching me, or is that what I have to call?"
And then he would call him Montero, and I'm like, "Is that your way of saying I should call him Montero?" Montero feels so personal.
It's personal, right? But that's part of what the documentary is kind of about as well.
Like I feel like if we were
how much of him is Montero and how much is Lil Nas X.
Like if we were lucky enough to interview
Lil Nas X.
Lil Nas X. that would have been something that I would have been like, Lil Nas X, Nas, Montero. Like I would have addressed.
Sure. That would have been a good question.
What do I call you?
Would have been a great question.
But anyway, but
and
yes,
then
we spoke to those directors, and they were great.
One coming up, which is it's like a knock on wood. We're still hoping for the confirmation. It's looking good. That is very cool. That we will reveal.
We know we're seeing the movie for it. So that usually means...
I never believe an interview's happening until I'm on that Zoom call with the person. But
that being said,
that's going to be a cool one.
If that interview goes ahead,
it's a big one. We're both very excited for that film and to see what this filmmaker does. So.
And then potentially just because of what...
Oh, shit. Dwayne.
Not Dwayne. You've suffered enough lately.
I'll do that. You are.
But also just because of what this director, who this director is, connected to.
Yes, I agree.
This is going to look great.
I can't wait. No, that's all right. Look at his little foot. He was kicking me in the ass the whole time.
Look at his little feet. None of this is getting cut out. This is great.
No. You think I edit these podcasts?
Oh, wow. Buddy.
Stay, motherfucker.
Ugh, Dwayne just
I'll give you a bottle to piss in later.
Dwayne just has to be the fucking center of attention. I mean, you put
That's what you get for fucking rocking up 5 hours late. Allegedly. But anyway, interviews looking good. Lots of reviews coming up. We're busy. Sydney Film Festival. Sydney Film Festival's coming up. We can't go together this year, which sucks.
Yeah, it's like we're literally like, you're there.
This is the first year in a couple of years that we haven't gone together. Sad.
Thursday to Sunday, Monday to Thursday.
So we're covering a whole week
separately.
Our friend Josh Barry coming down, Film Notions.
He's going to be the connector because he'll be with you and then he'll be with you.
Which was very exciting.
It's very,
so it's
very
like
nice.
it's a lad's trip by association.
Yeah.
But we're going to have time. I was going to unfortunately, I won't be at Brisbane Film Fest this year either. Sad because I'll be in Japan. But
I have bought my tickets for San Francisco, which basically means I will then go to Toronto, even though the Toronto Film Festival hasn't been opened up yet.
Sure.
I'm just going off the fact that I've been approved the last few years. I'm going to go again. So that'll be something that'll be happening.
So
hopefully.
It's been a busy few weeks.
In a
good way. But it's exciting.
Our wallets are a bit like...
Yeah, dude. I'm kind of like...
Because they're just like, oh, you're going overseas and you're going to Sydney? Cool.
So you went to Sydney for Furiosa and you want to go again for the Sydney Film Festival? I'm like, yeah, because guess what I'm seeing at Sydney Film Festival?
Sydney Film Festival.
Bike riders.
Sydney Festival came to fucking play.
They got some big hitters.
Bike riders. I saw the TV Globe.
Oh, yes.
Kinds of Kindness.
Yep. Cuckoo.
I'm
like, what else am I seeing?
I'm seeing
Problemista.
I'm seeing Problemista.
Yep.
My Old Ass.
Yes, which looks great.
Aubrey Plaza in a movie produced by Margot Robbie. I'm like, enough said.
In there for that. Plenty going on. I'm seeing The Contestant. I've been wanting to watch this documentary for so long.
Yeah.
I'm so intrigued by it, so that looks good too. But yeah, that's all happening. So,
I mean, Bike Riders and Kinds of Kindness is like, that's enough.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's two huge pulls. And watching them both in the State Theatre. Where we saw Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga.
And then you know why we watched Furiosa?
Why do we watch Furiosa?
Because this month we're talking about Mad Max.
Full
fucking circle
That's
in
how
18
we do it.
minutes.
Don't call us not professionals because we know how to do this shit. Siri, what did Siri wants to do?
It's got Mad Max full fucking circle. She's like, I don't understand.
Sometimes I accidentally hit Siri.
Shut up, Siri. Fuck.
Sometimes I accidentally hit Siri on my Apple TV when I'm trying to search for a title, but and then I'll realize it. I was like, oh fuck, and then she's like, I can't provide you with anything with that word, and I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, grow up. Anyway,
she's like, Grown Ups with Adam Sandler. Play.
And I'm like, oh fuck it, we're here. All right, we've digressed enough. You guys are here for the fucking meat and bones. That is the Mad Max Saga, arguably one of the most iconic Australian film series of all time. Because let's not forget, this is a wholeheartedly Australian certified fucking banger series.
These movies are Australian to the core.
Very much so.
Oh no.
Oh no. That's the next one coming out. Mad Max. Oh no.
Oh no.
Mad Max, a Cleo saga. But this is
all the water.
Oh, Cleo, don't touch the gasoline. This is a franchise.
That'll make sense to like this. That'll make sense. I was like,
For those who listen to the dialogue of
that'll
Mad
make sense
Max.
to like H2O% of you.
Yeah. Heyo. This is. I just noticed I'm going to start getting really relaxed.
Yeah, I was like,
I kinda love
I've
this.
definitely sunk a bit, but
I'm
I'm not
gone.
quite as
I'm feeling real comfy at the
quite as
moment.
casting
Hey.
couch as you.
Welcome to the monthly movie marathon. Pete was actually disgusted by that. He was holding back a vom there. But this series is so unapologetically Australian, right? From its roots of like Ozploitation. Yeah, well, this movie opens with a root, that's for sure. This series opens with rooting. It came out in the Ozploitation area.
I'll just quickly say, American audiences don't necessarily know what rooting is.
Fucking.
Here. Rooting is our word of saying for fucking, which is why.
So if you wanted to fuck it, if you're a frat boy and you were gross, and you're like, I wanted to fuck that chick, you go, I want to give her a root.
I'm going to give her a root.
Maybe it's because our dicks look like roots. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. This movie has a penis at the opening.
We're like, only one of us spoke about penises looking like tree roots. So look at you.
I mean, can we
ask yourself and be like, who brought that up?
That's true. That's a great point. But I think I presented it to you because I'm under the assumption maybe you've seen more penises than me.
Probably. But then also at the same
I've
time,
also seen a lot.
Straight guys see a lot.
I've seen a lot of dicks.
You guys just show them to yourself.
That is so true.
Whereas we're like, yeah, we see them, but it's also that we usually see them.
You got to work for it, right?
Mm.
No, okay. I'm just showing mine willy nilly. Hey,
and yet weirdly, I haven't seen it.
That's probably best for you, Pete. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, probably. Nick's like, I can't have another guy fall in love with me.
Yeah, that's or be jealous. Said no one.
Oh, not if it looks like a fucking tree root.
Not if it looks like. Oh God, what were we here talking about? Mad Max.
Mad Max.
Yeah, Ozploitation era, right? Like it's where
What?
violence and sex were like the mainstream of Australian cinema.
Yeah.
So George Miller comes out of the bat and goes like, "I'll focus on the violence." There's a little bit of rootin' and toot in this one, but like
not
it is
a lot.
about it's
Yeah.
about the violence. And if you thought, I feel like a lot of people's introduction to Mad Max definitely these days was Fury Road, right?
I think so, yeah.
And what a fantastic film it is, and we're definitely going to talk about it. But I think a lot of people also didn't expect Mad Max when they were like looking at like, oh wow, this like hectic, action-packed car chase, like sort of dystopian. Didn't realize how weird the Mad Max universe actually is.
Yeah.
And Mad Max, the first film that of 1978, I believe, is the least weird out of all of them.
It's really
That's the crazy part.
It's really, really funny watching
Mad Max.
watching Furiosa, watching Fury Road.
Yeah.
And then obviously you see where the other two films go, and you sort of in your mind think, well, Mad Max has always been this kind of weird, like over the top dystopian action series. And then you watch the first film and you're like, this is a cop.
He's a cop. Yeah, he's a cop.
In like it's like future Australia, but remember it's
not
made in the
necessarily-
70s, so future Australia is not like
No.
futuristic.
And it's described as a not too distant dystopian future, but like at the beginning we find out like the world due to ecocide. So basically, even in the 1970s, Dr. George Miller was like, "Hey, we're killing the planet."
And like his look at dystopia is more just like Wasteland in terms of there's not a lot of
the world's
like,
been destroyed.
There's not a lot of civilians. There's like a lot of like gangs who are all trying to like just preserve for their own benefits.
No, everyone's trying to fucking kill each other for oil.
But it is really funny to watch Mad Max.
Yes.
And realize, wow, how did you end up at Fury Road?
Yeah, and then by
then
extension, Furiosa.
Even though Furiosa
Is
is
it-
very much connected to Fury Road in its aesthetic.
It's much more the weirdness of like Mad Max 2 and Beyond Thunderdome, right?
But
Yeah.
Mad Max is like you read like the plot synopsis.
Sure.
And it's weird to think how grounded this movie
No,
is.
absolutely. No, I agree with you. Yeah, yeah.
And you know,
But I think a lot of that comes through budget as well. Tiny budget.
I mean, yeah, this film was made on like very little money.
It was made on nickels, basically.
and it didn't have like Mel Gibson wasn't like a
No.
huge
This
star.
arguably, and he wasn't really a huge star until Mad Max 2.
Yeah.
As well, because Mad Max had critical acclaim, like critical acclaim so much. It's 89% on Rotten
It
Tomatoes.
had a critical claim in Australia.
In Australia, yeah.
It went on to be like
We're going on being like, it's not that weird, but like, people found it weird.
people found it weird, and it's kind of funny that as much as people found it weird that it became the success it did.
Sure.
In Australia, it was a massive success, mainly because I think just people hadn't seen anything like it.
Yeah, which is fair enough.
But in America, it kind of got ripped apart a little bit
Yes.
because American audiences naturally were like, I mean, the distributors were like, are they going to understand Australian accents?
Which even in this film as Australians, no.
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 So they released an American dub.
Oh, they did too. That's right.
And
yeah,
the American dub is pretty fucking awful
Yeah.
because it obviously changes certain words, changes the
Colloquial Australianisms, I guess you could say.
and one of the performers, Hugh Key-Burns.
Hugh Keys-Byrne, who plays Toe Cutter, who's like the leader of the outlaw bicycle gang that Max is trying to take down.
So he, I mean,
Who's a
he's-
cop,
Yeah.
by the way. Mad
Yeah.
Max is a cop.
He
Let's not
has
forget.
quite a theatrical performance.
Well, he strikes me as a bit of like a theater
Yeah.
act. Like he's giving this. He's almost like Shakespearean in this, which works.
Which
by
works,
the way,
absolutely.
He's really great in the film,
But
and it won't be the last we see of him.
his performance got dubbed by, I don't know if it was him. I don't think it was him, but it got dubbed by like a British performer.
Right. Okay.
And that British performer, it just changed how menacing he is.
Because he is very menacing in this film. He has this. There's this quiet intimidation at the start, and then he has these sort of like violent outbursts.
And there are certain,
Which are really-
and there are
which are cool.
certain lines he says quite silently that just have so much more impact.
Absolutely.
And yet in
Absolutely.
the dubbing, it was like, oh, this now seems like he's quite possibly a really terrible actor.
No, and which should be stated now. Like I think most people who are watching this now would probably have seen the normal version, right?
The normal version.
Which is the really good one.
Yeah. So eventually they released the Australian cut in American cinemas.
Yeah.
And
And
all of a sudden everyone was like,
Oh,
shit, like
this
this is
fucking
actually
rules.
really cool.
So yeah, so much so that it's certified fresh, 89%.
Yeah. So
70%
it just goes to
audiences.
show like just don't change things for other audiences.
No,
Like,
don't do it
just-
unless you have to,
yeah,
right? Like stay true to your form because Mad Max is definitely like similar to what I would say like The Raid, the Malaysian film The Raid is kind of like was more of a jumping point to get The Raid 2 made, right?
Yes.
It definitely seems like Mad Max, even though George Miller like presented this as like this is the idea I have for this world, almost as like a jumping off point for Mad Max 2.
Yeah.
Right?
Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior,
Yeah.
is very much the movie where that universe
could have been-
that movie could have
been Mad Max
could have
1.
been the first one. And if you haven't seen Mad Max and you just watch Mad Max 2,
Sure.
it makes sense.
It makes sense.
And that's the first movie where that universe really starts to form.
To pick up.
And
Yeah,
you
yeah.
start to be like, okay, I can see where Fury Road came from.
Yes.
If you see.
Oh,
if
God,
you
yeah.
just watch Mad Max, you'll be like, bit of a stretch.
Yeah,
But
no,
watching,
I would agree.
watching The Road Warrior and then watching
Beyond Thunderdome,
it all makes sense.
it all makes sense.
And obviously, you take away the fact that these films are made in the 70s, 80s, where the budget's not as big. It does, like the technical advancements aren't there, but you can still see.
I mean, fuck what they did with what they had, though.
Like what they did with it's incredible.
This movie takes crashing cars into empty caravans to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Because that is the action of this film. The chases are as fun as they can be. You know what I mean? Like there's still an excitement to them as well.
Yeah.
But where I feel like this movie really, really works for me, they're a $300,000 budget. Fuck me. That's small.
That's nothing.
And then ended up making 8.7 million worldwide. So very successful eventually, but
Yeah.
and obviously cult
I thought
status,
it went on
notoriety.
I feel like it went on to make like maybe that was through it's all of its like
VHS sales.
VHS
That's
sales.
just box office gross.
Yeah,
so.
I'm pretty sure like it ended up making like over 100 million.
Yeah,
VHS.
it would have been a huge one. So, but it's definitely one where it also suffers from that 70s, 80s things where it's like the quality, as in the technical quality of it, does hinder some of your understanding of what's going on.
Yeah.
The way dialogue is picked up, especially with like not just the Australian accent, but like the exotic voices that people put on. It's a very sort of like, and this continues throughout the whole franchise, but you very much get this like, oh, and I'm going to come and steal your gasoline. And it's heightened and it's campy and it's very over the top.
Like, and it's like that's kept like Chris Hemsworth's performance in Furiosa. Many will probably be like, oh, it's over the top, but it's fucking incredible.
I'm going to say this. I love Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Furiosa is the best performance he's ever given.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's had any amazing performances before this. Like, he's good as Thor. Don't come at me, MCU people. But like,
I will say, I think his comedy work is really underrated. Sure. But I think
But I feel like he's also playing himself.
Yeah, but I think the closest thing that we can see villain-wise, Bad Times at the El Royale.
I agree. I also think
but Furiosa is.
I also think that's where that movie becomes shit. Was when that whole cult thing's introduced. But that's I loved Bad Times until he rocked up. And not because of him.
Right,
but I just didn't like where the movie went.
Right,
But I would say Furiosa is his best performance. But he sort of, he really encapsulates like that early, especially like Hugh Keays-Byrne, who has that sort of like, it's this like weirdly like theatrical Shakespearean edge to his villainisms. His villainous nature, I guess you could say. His villainy is the word I'm looking for, not just making up words again, Nick. Good one. But like when you're asked to sort of like break down what Mad Max, the first film, is about, it's just like, it's a cop he's a cop in a dystopian wasteland that's just like run by psychopaths.
And he kind of like he wants to still do like the right thing.
Yes.
Feels like he can't.
He's a bit of an enforcer too. Like he's like sort of the cop that gets called in when they need. But he's over that.
He is over it.
And he's like, I'm leaving. Like I can't do this anymore.
And then leaves with his wife and son.
And
then they are killed.
But they're not killed until like an hour into the movie. And this is a 90-minute movie.
Like you're watching it going, when does Mad Max like become Mad Max?
Yeah.
Because at this point, he's just...
It's not until the last act, really.
And his wife and child, like his child is instantly killed in the collision. And that's quite...
It's quite horrific, actually, yeah.
Like it's not graphic. You don't see anything. It's just the fact that you know that this kid has just been
murdered.
Rammed down.
This child has been murdered.
His wife is killed. His wife succumbs to her injuries in hospital.
Yes.
So she dies. And then, then Max becomes mad and is like, all right.
He becomes mad, Max.
Puts on, really embraces the black leather.
He
goes on a rampage.
And it's awesome. Like that
awesome.
last sort of like 15, 20 minutes of Mad Max is unreal. The amount of just cars they're flipping and destroying. And like as someone who like loves practical shit like effects in that and those sorts of things, and knowing that this is like a $300,000 movie, it's kind of cool to watch, like to see where that money goes.
And
right?
I know that, look, and I will say, like, I know that Mel Gibson now is problematic to a lot of people.
I think that's fair to say. I think he's got some issues.
It doesn't take away from the fact that he's a great actor.
He has this like real stoic-y performance, doesn't he?
Like his performances in 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
They're all great. And he really
I think he is very much a part of the reason why Mad Max is such an iconic character.
Yeah.
The movies speak for themselves. And as we break the other ones down, you'll see that. But like, I absolutely think Mad Max, Mel Gibson is the embodiment of that for sure. Like you don't think.
He has his stoic nature really works. Like he's the kind
his physicality.
He's the kind of like you look at him and you're like, there is an intimidation.
His eyes
to him.
It's fucking his eyes, like, man. He's a psycho.
And it's like where like you like kind of thrown off balance because like Mel Gibson as a young in these films, he is like a classically handsome man.
Yes, he is.
That you kind of like thrown off to because you're like, oh, he looks so handsome and he's so like silent that you're like that makes his violent, intimidating nature like hit that much more.
Yeah, I would agree.
You sort of look at him and you're just like, oh, he's just I'll say it, he's a pretty man.
Yeah, no, he's a
pretty
good looking man.
man.
He's handsome. Yeah.
So the fact that he is as like terrifying as he is when he gets down to it, it's
Yeah.
like kind of like a nice like off, like it kind of balances that. And I think like you're almost not expecting him to be as terrifying as he is because you don't think of Mel Gibson like in these films as being like intimidating in any
No.
way. And then he like,
But he has to do things
and he
that
does what he
kind
does,
of.
and you're like,
He's a hero.
okay, yeah.
We don't need another hero. That'll pop back
That'll
up later.
pop up because my God, I had forgotten all about that.
But there's not really lots to talk about with Mad Max other than like it is like the foundational first step into what this franchise truly became.
Yeah.
And when I think people were accepting to how weird the world of Mad Max was, George Miller kind of like was like, all right, see what I do with this. And then gave us Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior.
So like, what was like? Do you know what the budget on this? Like, did this like amp up considerably?
Let's have a look.
So, like, Mad
Because,
Max,
yeah, so just for the, so 1978 was Mad Max and then Mad Max 2 Road Warrior is 1981. So a couple of
4
years later.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty good turnaround for that time, to be honest. And the budget then, $3 million. So 10 times the
10 times
budget.
the budget. That's pretty good.
And made it box office 23 million worldwide. Because I think it's also, you got to remember, like these were cult movies for a while.
Yeah.
These weren't big the action blockbuster that Fury Road turned the franchise into.
Yeah,
In fact,
I think people forget that like
no one was asking for more Mad Max movies after Thunderdome except Mad Max fans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in the sense of like it wasn't more so like people were like, oh, I'd like to see another Mad Max movie. That's an action blockbuster franchise.
And
like it wasn't. This is a cult franchise.
and Fury Road like broke through that barrier for like it gave Mad Max fans what they wanted.
Yeah.
But then it just turned into like this bombastical action movie that really serviced genre fans
Yes,
as
agreed.
well. So yeah, I think people do forget that like prior to Fury Road, you had 3 films that were, yes, they're action films, but they're
not blockbusters.
they're not spectacles.
They're not
in any way.
event movies. No, these were cult films.
Yeah.
And I mean, good ones as well, because this Mad Max 2 The Road Warrior is kind of like probably before Fury Road was regarded as the best one. From what I can remember.
Yes.
93% critic score, 86% score, audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. And some have claimed to be sort of one of the definitive action movies of the 80s.
I think so, yeah.
Especially with its stunt work, which this movie, The Road Warrior, saw the introduction between George Miller and one Guy Norris.
Guy Norris, yes.
Who I will harp on about. He is the stunt coordinator on the Mad Max films from number 2 onwards, and fortunate enough to interview him earlier this year at the Actor Festival. He was the stunt coordinator and second unit director on Furiosa. And some of the car chases, car flips, car explosions, fight scenes, motorbike scenes, quad bike scenes in this film are pretty fucking cool for the 80s.
Yeah.
After Fury Road and maybe Furiosa, out of the original trilogy, for me, this is the best one.
Oh, absolutely.
Mad Max 2
Yeah.
is genuinely like an unreal action
Growing
film.
up, like I remember seeing these films when I was far too young, but I also
Because they're R-rated,
I don't
which
think-
for these days' standards, not so much.
I can
but
see why they were R-rated when they were originally.
do you feel like because
revealed.
it's almost as well like thematically, it's like
think
a lot of
thematically.
chaos and carnage and like it's
Yeah.
very all the violence is very malicious.
Yeah.
I think is what it is,
I'm
rather than
pretty sure
action
this-
violence.
I think this has this been re-rated to MA?
It might have been. I don't know. I've got an X rating up here for
Because I'm
for
pretty
the
sure
UK.
I'm pretty sure
I think it
have
was
this,
banned in the UK.
I
for
think
a
I
bit.
have this on. I have these on Blu-ray.
Sure.
I have a feeling the first one is still R.
Yeah.
Mad Max: The Road Warrior is MA.
Okay.
Beyond Thunderdome is M.
Yes.
And Fury Road is MA.
And Furiosa is MA.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense.
So,
But, like, I
there's
remember
a little
seeing
bit of
these
blood and
films
gore.
Very young. I remember seeing Mad Max. I remember seeing the trilogy on TV.
Yeah.
So that on TV they would have been cut out.
Sure.
But I remember all being the same. Road Warrior was always the one that I considered the best.
Yep.
And I remember thinking how bizarre it was that they got a particular performer to star in Beyond Thunderdome.
Yeah,
we'll
sure,
talk about. 'Cause
sure.
It was just like, and I always remember thinking Beyond Thunderdome was the one. I always thought it was like the franchise killer.
No,
Like
it
I
was,
always
yeah,
thought,
yeah,
but I was quite shocking on rewatching these and then looking at the ratings. I was like, oh, it was actually really, really well received.
It was,
So
yeah.
I'm not entirely sure where I thought that from. But yeah, this is out of the original trilogy. This is absolutely like the best
'Cause it is
one.
just
and it's
relentlessly
bombastic.
bombast.
It's got that Fury Road like
energy to
energy
it, right?
to it, yeah.
And because as well, I think the reason people you could say this is like the first Mad Max film because this is like where we kind of actually see Mad Max. Mad Max is almost a prequel, and then this is like Mad Max.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we see this is pretty much set almost directly after or a couple of months after the first film.
One, yeah.
So like the wife and son and being dead are canon. The fact that the world is we still get like a recap at the beginning of like nuclear war and ecocide killed the world and everyone went crazy for oil is still the number one commodity. And the movie becomes about Max being like, I'm going to steal this oil from this settlement.
Yeah.
And then ends up having to be the hero and save the settlement from humongous. Lord Humongous, right?
Yeah.
The Humongous.
Yeah.
So, which I think is like one of the
names.
iconic.
I love the names in these.
They just get better and better though, don't they?
There's some in
Fury Road.
There's a good few reveals.
There's a great one in Furiosa, actually. There's a really great one in Furiosa.
Like you sort of go, okay, if we're going to have someone called
Rictus Erectus,
what could his brother be called?
And
you're like,
we'll let you find that one out because it's quite funny.
Nice, yeah.
But yeah, this movie is just like a very down the line, very straightforward story. But again, it's just bolstered up by how the commitment to how weird this world is, how weird the characters are. And I say weird in a good way. Like I really enjoy the absurdity of this world, which is something I think Furiosa does so well. In fact, my favorite part of Furiosa was the world building.
Yeah, I think that's how the best way to enjoy these films is to like you just have to surrender to them.
Just go on the ride.
Like, because if you read like the plot synopsis, you read the characters, you might have seen like a few clips and you were just used to action films being XYZ.
Yeah.
You'd probably go, fuck these. You'd go, these are awfully, like, you'd be like, these are so stupid. They're so over the top. These are awfully
Yeah,
you get it.
you'd have some issues with it, sure.
And like, I feel like some audiences might go to Furiosa and sort of laugh at a lot of the Australianness of it all. But I was like, but that's the point.
That's the point of it all.
What these films do. So I think if you like are open to them and you just sort of go into them and accept them for the.
I think it'd be rare to find, and I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I think it'd be rare to find an American director who could have be able to sort of let their pride go a little bit and make something that is this weird.
Yeah.
Like George Miller just let his mind, and he's a mastermind, right?
Yeah.
Like this shit he comes up with in these films is awesome, and his visual brain must be like always on fire because these movies look great.
Like we'll also look at the fact that like George Miller, like he made Babe, Pig in the City, he made the sequel, not the original.
He made Happy Feet.
3,000 Years of Longing.
I love 3,000 Years of Longing.
Which is of Eastwick.
Yes, you are a fan. Yes, I haven't seen that movie. I need to see that. So
he's got like his visual eye and his
imagination.
His imagination is like kind of second to none.
And you get so much more of that in Mad Max too. Like the characters are so ridiculous. Like you get the gyro captain who is just this eccentric pilot who's trying to kill Max because that's just the world.
Yeah.
Everyone's just trying to kill everyone.
Yeah.
But like you get actors in there as well who sort of match George's vision of absurdity, which is super exciting to watch. Bruce Spence, who is fantastic as the gyro captain. And he just has one of those faces like, you know, that is not necessarily natural to look at. Like he has distinguishing features, which is something the Mad Max film, I think George Miller focuses on in a very positive way.
In the later ones, definitely.
For sure. So, but it's my only criticism of the Mad Max films is that they're very small plots stretched over a long amount of time. I feel like you can feel that much more with the earlier ones because they're not as, don't get me wrong, the action's awesome, but they're not as action packed as what we get with Fury Road. Fury Road, we ate too good.
Fury Road is pretty much
we got the 5-star Mad Max film
action
with
movie,
with Fury Road, right? Because it is literally 2 hours of action, and the story and the character work and the world that's sprinkled in between is interesting enough.
Yeah.
But that movie could be stretched over because it has these 15-minute long action sequences, whereas Mad Max and this original trilogy and Mad Max 2 isn't necessarily, innocent of this, is that it is at points feel like a little too stretched out.
Yeah.
Like there's just times where I'm like, this movie could just start moving on to the next thing a little bit, but you also kind of want to make it a 90-minute runtime. You don't want it to be an hour-long film. Then when the action comes along, or like when that first confrontation happens between Max and Humongous in that village, and it's just this like witty, absurd war of words, and people are all talking like this, and you're not. It's exciting. It's entertaining. It's fun to watch. Like
I'm not entertained.
It's literally how I felt watching this. And then I think Mad Max 2 out of the trilogy does it the best.
Yeah.
It is a really fun film. But holy shit, some of those chase scenes
in Mad Max 2
are unreal. Yeah, for 1981.
Yeah.
The people are getting flipped off of bikes and quad bikes in such a dangerous way that you kind of like, obviously like stunt safety in the 80s was maybe non-existent, but like it is wild what they can pull off in this film. And it even like, we say it's got 10 times more budget than the first one. This is still only a $3 million budget.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Like you sort of, you look at like what he did with $300,000. You look at what he does with $3 million, and then you see then you see like the budget size for like Fury Road, and you're just like, oh, that's how you pull that shit off. All of that shit, yeah.
It's insane, and I guess I kind of like that in this film. I think it's explored more in Beyond Thunderdome, but like we kind of get like the mythology of Max.
Yeah,
as like he's actually become this sort. I think this is probably the event in the canon of the world of Mad Max. This is probably the event. This city this not city, but this like village of people that he's defended and stuck up for against this tyrannical leader sort of makes the myth, you know what I mean? Like, I like the way George Miller sort of has constructed these films in that way, as like when we get to Beyond Thunderdome, people are aware of who Max is.
And he's done it and Max has done it like completely unintentionally.
No, exactly.
He's just like, I'm not trying to.
He's always avoiding this situation.
Yeah, it's just like, but
it's kind of great.
Beyond Thunderdome, he's kind of like, all right, he like kind of leans.
Well, he kind of has to. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Anything else you want to say with Mad Max 2? Mad Max 2 is fucking awesome. That's all you need to know. It's such a good fucking movie. I'm not going to say it's my favorite in the franchise. It's not, but out of the original trilogy, it's
my favorite out of the original trilogy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a fucking awesome movie. Yeah. And then 5 years later, in 1986, I believe, we got Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Because 1985, sorry, 4 years later. Because if you thought it couldn't get any fucking weirder, George Miller was like, hold my beer, motherfuckers, because you're about to get transported into the Thunderdome. This movie, for me, I should have opened by saying this. I had only seen, before this show, I'd only seen Mad Max Fury Road, and then Furiosa. So I hadn't seen Mad Max 2 before. So I should have said that. I loved that movie. And I had not seen Beyond Thunderdome. I grew up looking at the case. I mean, we can see the poster here, but like I grew up seeing this movie poster, this DVD, this VHS case, and being like, that looks fucking weird, and having no idea what Mad Max was about.
Yeah.
And even as someone now who understands that Mad Max is very much an intentionally weird franchise, Beyond Thunderdome is still fucking really weird.
Yeah, so this was the one that I always assumed
killed the
franchise because...
Well, I mean, on the surface, you're not wrong. Like, 81% for the critics. They loved
81% for critics. I was like, that's
high.
I don't know why I was shocked, because I just always assumed this was the one that like went from like super fresh to like super rotten.
Right.
Like, and I don't know if it was just because as you said, like the poster for it just seems so much more comical than the others.
It seems like it's the most, like Mad Max 2 and Mad Max's poster just seem like stoic action hero movies. This features
And I don't know if it was like because Tina Turner's in it.
Tina Turner is in it.
And that's not me shitting on Tina Turner because
No.
I love Tina Turner was one of the greatest musicians of all time.
Do you think
But an actress was not.
if you could turn back time,
that's not her.
Isn't it?
That's
Fuck.
Cher.
Shit.
If
I was just thinking of 80s pop songs.
I mean,
I'm not as well versed in my
I was about to
80s.
say, like, we don't need another hero, but we sure need another.
We need another.
Simply the best. Nah.
Simply, well, that's one I do know because that was the NRL theme song for the whole late 90s. Audience score 49%. This is the lowest rated Mad Max film.
See, that's where I was like, maybe that's what I.
Because I think you have to prepare yourself for a certain level of weirdness with this film. This is where
Mad Max kind of was like, we'll just try camp.
Yes, and it dedicated to that.
Dedicated to that.
For sure. It's the longest film in the original trilogy as well. And boy, does it feel it. Yeah. I didn't love this one. There's elements that I loved, or elements that I at least really liked, predominantly in the action sector. Yeah. The Thunderdome is a cool idea.
It's a cool idea.
Let's talk about that because
it's a cool idea, and we get like the iconic line of the 2 men enter 1 man leaves. 2 men enter 1 man leaves.
Like
I'm sure that's been said in God knows
in every fucking film.
And I didn't realize that I assume it originated from here because when it was said, I was like, oh, okay.
It must have. As I was scrolling down, one of the taglines for the film was no, Max is back and Tina is here.
See, I don't like that. Because it's like taking you away from the fact that it's
That's
Max.
how they were selling the film, weren't they?
Yeah, and I get that you're trying to sell it because Tina Turner, like in the late 80s, early 90s, Tina Turner was...
She was it.
She was everywhere. As you said, she was the end. Like they got her to do the NRL.
I love that with Jimmy Barnes.
That's huge.
So fucking good.
What's love got to do with it? Oh, yeah. Stop it. Incredible. But I just, and look, I think her acting style... I think it works in the sense that these films are heightened.
Sure.
But at the same time, Mel Gibson is so like...
Stoic.
So stoic.
He's so fucking stoic in this one.
Stoic.
It's the most stoic we've ever seen Mad Max.
It almost, and then
Tom Hardy comes along, but that's another story.
But like, I think because Mel Gibson is so stoic...
Yeah.
That it's like, you don't need to like overcompensate.
Sure.
And I feel like that's what she does.
I would agree. with you there.
You look at it and be like, that was clearly George Miller's like choice.
Yeah.
And look, as a villain in this world,
you've got to stand out, right?
And I get it. And I don't think she's awful.
No, I don't think she's awful either.
Of like, she's just so noticeably like over the top.
Yeah.
And because Tina Turner is not a classically trained actress.
Yeah,
I think that's
that makes
what the
sense.
issue is.
That makes sense.
I'm just trying to think of like in the 80s who you could have had instead.
No, I'd say I don't think.
Maybe Cher would have been.
And then if I could turn back time, would have been the song for Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome instead of We Don't Need Another Hero. Before this, recorded a few episodes of 0 to 100. We were talking about music video.
Yes. So basically, you need to watch this episode and listen to the Tomb Raider episode of 0 to 100 for this whole conversation.
This whole conversation coming full circle.
Because we were saying not enough films nowadays lean into having the soundtrack song. And I did not realize
a song made for the movie and then a music video that features stuff for the film.
I was not aware that We Don't Need Another Hero was from the Mad Max movie.
Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, baby.
I was like, wow.
Belted through the credits by Tina herself.
We don't need another.
Which kind of like weirdly actually works with the ending of this film.
Yeah, thematically it makes perfect sense.
It has 80s written all over it.
It's just so bizarre to be like, a Mad Max movie.
Yes, yeah.
Like, you sort of think and be like, if that's like your Fury Road.
Yeah.
Had...
What was a massive song of like 2014? Like imagine like some Skrillex playing or something. Bangarang by Skrillex.
I was like, Kesha?
Oh my God. The fucking Charlie's looking down, Mad Max fucking going away.
In the morning.
TikTok on the spot. That would have been that. Actually, you know what? Someone make that. Someone make that edit. I'm too lazy, but that would be really fucking funny.
But yeah,
or would it have been Linkin Park? Would it have been what I've done? Max is going. He's disappearing into the crowd. There's what I've done.
Or this is like 10 years too late, but it would suit. So the ending of Fury Road,
Yeah.
which we'll get to, but the ending of Fury Road where we see like Tom Hardy like look up and Charlize Theron look down,
Yeah.
and then all you hear is the piano the piano riff from Evanescence.
Oh my God. Yeah. Fuck. What would Furiosa's be? What's the song of the moment at oh my God. Holy shit.
What?
With the ending of Furiosa.
Yeah.
And we see Furiosa drive away or whatever. I actually don't remember what the last shot of Furiosa is. But then we just hear, Karma's a bitch. I should have known better. And then fucking, because JoJo Siwa dresses like she's out of fucking Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. My God.
The first line of Karma is, I was a bad girl.
Oh my God.
And she is.
Holy
Furiosa
shit.
is a bad girl and she did do bad things.
Holy fucking shit.
Get this shit. TikTok, do your thing. Mash these two.
We're officially announcing Warner Brothers. You're welcome in advance.
JoJo Siwa sings the song Karma from the motion picture Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. And I want that film clip re-recorded with weird
Furiosa
with all of the war boys doing the dance.
Hell. Oh my God.
It's got to be done now.
Furiosa, a bad bitch saga. What were we talking about? Beyond Thunderdome. Beyond Thunderdome is weird, but the worst thing Beyond Thunderdome is two different movies. Because once Max is banished from the Thunderdome place because he survives, which is that fight is pretty cool. It's like this bungee aerial. It's like a Pink concert,
and it's kind of like giving a good like insight into what he does in Fury Road.
Yes, absolutely.
Like in terms of stunts, you sort of see like, oh, he's a fighter. Like, and also just like the aerial stunts of that and what he does in Fury Road in terms of having the giant. Like the guitar playing and like the all that sort of stuff.
No, absolutely. So and it makes sense and it's cool. Like that bungee fight scene is pretty cool. It's quite unique.
Yeah.
It's a little inventive and it's weird. But Max is banished and then he runs into what can only be described as the Lost Boys.
Essentially,
it's essentially the Lost Boys from Peter Pan. It's this tribe of children who have...
So because they're Australian, it'd be like, oh, that's the Lost Boys.
It's the Lost Boys. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
What happened? Did your plane crash? Oh, no. So they're the children survivors of this plane crash, which makes you automatically assume that they must have been some sort of high society because who the fuck was flying a plane? And
like, who the fuck was flying a plane with no parents on it?
Yeah, great point. Unless they ate the parents first, which is smart thinking. But like, yeah, it's just this tribe of kids in the middle of nowhere.
And because kids are dumb, they're just like, oh, the pilots come back. You're like, that's not how that works.
Yeah, that's true because they tell these stories. They have the picture carousel thing that they look through and they're like, it's Tomorrowland. Like they literally just see Sydney and they're like, it's the land of the future.
Yeah. And you're just like, it is Sydney.
They see the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House and they're like, oh my God.
I mean, to be fair, if you'd never seen that before,
very
you'd be
true.
like, it is quite cool. But
that is true. I'm not shitting on one of Australia's greatest landmarks as highlighted recently by the Fall Guy, but like calling it Tomorrowland, like, come on, kids. But yeah, it's just this like savage kids.
Don't be dumb.
Don't be dumb. Oh no. And then they take Max in and Max is like, oh, fucking, I'll teach us to fight and we'll go back and take down Tina. Like, I don't really want to, I don't care for this.
That's just the perfect way to be like, Beyond Thunderdome, Mel Gibson teaches a bunch of kids to fight Tina. Come on, kids, we're gonna go fight Tina. Come on, Tucker.
It's like fighting around the world. The reason I don't care for it and skipped over it as such is because it's literally the same thing that happens in Mad Max 2.
Making movies, Tina Turner fighting around the world. Oh, so good.
Drinking all the gasoline, drinking up, Tucker. Jeez, fucking hell. But like, it's the same thing that happens in Mad Max 2, is that he comes across a settlement of people. This just happens to be children this time.
Yeah.
And some of them are like, hey, you're all right. Oh, no, initially they're scared. And then they're like, oh, no, you're all right. And then one person, which in this case is this young woman, goes like, nah, fuck you, I'm the leader.
Yeah.
Which is what Humongous does in Mad Max 2. So we just get the same storyline for 40 minutes, but with children. And I don't feel any connection or like it enhance the story in any way.
No.
And then they go back and fight Tina and Tina's people and shit, right? Like, I don't know.
Tina's
like,
people, also known as the Turner.
The Beyond Thunderdome. But like, to me, I get that it kind of builds the world and we get an idea of what's happening outside of, but this is something we'll talk about with Furiosa more so, but that to me seems like more of an interesting movie if it was its own movie, maybe by another director. Like if someone else played.
Thunderdome?
Yeah. Oh, no. Like the whole thing with Mad Max coming across the kids and like having this Lord of the Flies things, which I actually read. The Beyond Thunderdome was actually more adapted into a Mad Max film from a screenplay that was about a man who comes across a Lord of the Flies-esque situation.
Okay, that makes more sense.
So you've got, it almost feels like you had this Mad Max Thunderdome movie and didn't know what to put in like the middle half an hour. And then there was this other screenplay that ended up coming to George Miller, who co-directed this film, by the way.
Yeah.
And then they sort of mashed the two together. And that's where I feel like the movie is at its weakest. Is like, I don't give a shit about what's happening to the kids.
Which, if this was made like in like a Fury Road kind of way, the middle of this movie would probably just be a giant chase action
100%. 100%.
And you'd be like, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's where Thunderdome really lacked for me. And I didn't struggle to get through it, but it was the only Mad Max movie I've watched out of all of them, Furiosa, including where I walked away going, yeah.
So you can kind of see why it then took like 30 plus years
for
us to go.
Do you feel the same way about Thunderdome?
Yeah, Thunderdome is like, it's fine.
Yeah.
But then it's like hard when you put it up against Road Warrior and Fury Road, you're like, how did we go from Road Warrior to Thunderdome? And then
back to Fury Road,
how
right?
the fuck did we get Fury Road after that many years of sitting dormant?
Well, 30 years dormancy to be, and not for lack of trying.
No,
because so Mad Max Fury Road came out in 2015, but George Miller had been trying to get this film made since the early 2000s, and almost, I think in around 2006, 2007, almost pretty much was about to get this film made.
And then I guess when that didn't go ahead, and then he got stuck in development hell with the Justice League movie.
Yes, George Miller's Justice League.
And that movie famously didn't go ahead. And then
obviously he had a couple of Happy Feet movies to make,
and then he went back to this,
which for the better, because
absolutely,
holy shit, Mad Max Fury Road might be one of the. I don't know if it's the best, but it's fucking up there as one of the best action movies of all time.
It's absolutely one of the best action movies
of all time. It is incredible, and everyone thinks so. 97% critics score on Rotten Tomatoes from over 400 reviews.
That's fucking impressive.
And 86% audience score from over 100,000 reviews.
I'd love to know what the
brilliant.
I'd love to know what the negative people are.
I know someone who doesn't like this movie. In fact, when I first saw this at the cinemas in 2015, I went with a mate at the time, and he walked out and he was like, yeah, I just couldn't get into it. I don't think he'd seen other Mad Max movies. I think Mad Max, the world is polarizing.
Yeah.
Because this movie, let's not forget, opens up with a bound and gagged Max getting
the opening of Fury Road is very like, what the fuck am I about to watch?
Getting manhandled by an army of militant savages called war boys who chrome themselves before descending into a fiery death to Valhalla, who, because blood has been poisoned by the pollution at this point, need to constantly get blood from full life people, not half-life people, to survive. There's a lot going on. Morton Joe is a weird character. He's farming breast milk. Like, there's a lot of shit going on. Max is having these like demonic fucking visions of his dead children and wife and shit, like dead son and wife. Like, Fury Road does not give you a second to go, where am I? Yeah. It just goes, here you are, cunt.
Fury Road kind of is like, oh, I fully expect you to have at least seen Road Warrior, Mad Max and Road Warrior.
Yeah, but I feel like in a good way as well, it does stand on its own. Like, it gives you enough info in the beginning.
Because I saw...
Bless you. Pardon you. Oh, jeez. I know, it's that time of year. God damn. We've both been fucking... Oh, we didn't even say that at the beginning. Not only were we busy, we were both deathly sick for a couple of days. Fucking hell.
Because this was one movie where... So I went out and bought Mad Max and Road Warrior on Blu-ray to watch before seeing Fury Road.
Okay. And you're not bad viewing. Like that's probably good homework, to be honest.
Yeah.
Thunderdome, not so much.
And...
You don't have to.
My ex hadn't seen either of them.
Okay.
Didn't watch them with me.
Sad. Is that why he's your ex?
And yes, that's the main
That's the main reason.
Like, you didn't fucking watch.
You didn't like Fury Road. You bitch.
But took him to the preview screening of Fury Road,
sure.
And he loved it.
It's a great movie.
He hadn't seen the... I was basically getting the fact that he hadn't seen the other two.
Yeah.
So he, you can watch this movie without having seen
you will understand this movie. Like, this story.
Yes, you'll understand this story.
You will get.
It'll obviously help more to have seen the others to sort of get the context of everything that's going on.
Not just who Max is and the world he lives in, but like the fact that gasoline is the hottest commodity, and you do find out in this one that bullets are a commodity as well. Like, so we got Bullet Town. You got these factions. You got these towns that are in charge of commodities. So gas and bullet, and then Morton Joe, who is the leader of this one, is the water.
And we'll say Morton Joe, played by
Hugh Keys-Byrne, who was Toe Cutter in the first Mad Max film.
And he's completely covered up in makeup and face.
Like, he wears a gas mask thing, and he wears like the body armor suit. It's fucking cool.
It's not even a case of like
the aesthetic of this
you've
movie.
got the same act. I was like, it's a completely different character, and it's like, and it works because this character. You don't know it's him.
You wouldn't
like
know.
Unless you saw the name. Like, you see the name and you go, oh wow, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't know it all. But yeah, that's kind of like the world it's set is like now these commodities are protected by their towns.
Yeah.
And Morton Joe is absolutely like a tyrannical leader who is farming breast milk, I'll say once more, and also impregnating full-life attractive women to bear his children. It's gross. George Miller does gross very well.
And it's gross because it's like... Because apart from the fact that like Morton Joe is gross and then his sons are
all disfigured and deformed, yeah.
And even though we never see an impregnation scene or anything like that.
The illusion is
the illusion's there, and it's more of a case of you kind of get that these women are just continually giving birth.
Yeah.
And you imagine that if they're giving birth and the child is either not a boy, or has a deformity of some, that these children are just getting
killed on the spot. Like that is the illusion very heavily,
and that is something that is seen more in Furiosa. We see what one of these children unfortunately looks like.
Born like. So much so to the point that Charlize Theron, who is kind of like Morton Joe's number one oil rig driver, basically, and a badass bitch, if I say so myself.
Oh God, she's so fucking good.
She's so good. Charlize Theron is so good in this movie. Furiosa attempts to escort the ladies who are trying to bear children for Morton Joe out. She takes them to escape.
Well, she wants to take them to
their home. Their home.
So yeah, Furiosa comes from
you find out, yeah.
Yeah. In this movie, it's alluded to where she has come from a higher, like a place where
it's a women-run
like
town.
but like an oasis, so to speak.
Oasis is
like
a good word, yeah.
greenery. There's food, water, like
Education,
It's like
it's
it's peace,
equality.
Yeah,
I guess you could say as well.
And she basically is like, I will take these women with me to this area because I know that they will be taken care of.
Yeah.
Furiosa
kinda, yeah.
very much shows you that place existed.
Yes.
Fury Road, it's all just like
We're going on a hope and a prayer.
on a hope and a prayer, and that Charlize Theron, that Furiosa, like,
that Imperator Furiosa.
yeah.
But for Immortan Joe, she goes and gets the oil from Gastown.
So he's like, I trust you. You're my number one.
Because once you go out of your town into the wasteland, that's when shit can go crazy. You're not just trying to watch out for betrayals from the other towns around you, even though there are agreements of trades between the elements and whatever. But there's just crazy fucking people out there who are trying to kill you at every turn, who they think Max is one of those people.
Yeah.
And Max has good blood, and his blood's getting given to a war boy played by Nicholas Hoult, who is fucking great in this film.
I love that, like, Nicholas Hoult was the little boy in About a Boy.
And look at him now.
And just glowed the fuck up.
Well, he is, yeah.
And continually just makes really fascinating acting
awesome choices, because there's nothing he's been in where I haven't gone, fuck Nicholas Hoult, your shit.
Yeah.
Like, I love him in these films.
Yeah.
So big fan of him in this. And then because he's getting new blood as it's then slowly discovered, once Furiosa takes the war rig off course,
yeah,
everyone starts going, wait a second, what the fuck's she doing?
She for a while there, she's just like, trust me, like,
because she has the respect of her crew, like,
so they're just like,
unassuming crew.
They have no reason not to trust you.
Yeah,
but eventually, Morton Joe
is kind of like, nah, this isn't right.
And then he's like, this isn't right. And then he realizes that all of his lovely harem of women are gone, and that's when he's like, nah, she's fucking betrayed me. So now. War is on. Every man, well, not every man for themselves. Basically, like,
no, it's like, go get her,
and bring my women back.
Yeah, that's what he says.
Furiosa is fair game, basically.
And what ensues? So then, in that regard, then Nicholas Hoult has to take his blood bag with him, who is Max Roxatansky.
So yeah.
And what ensues is a 2-hour-long, high-octane, explosive, tense, nail-biting, white-knuckle fucking chase scene.
Visually,
that is incredible.
It's
aesthetically, the colors, the costumes, the designs of the vehicles.
I think it's
the
fact
Doof Warrior.
I think it's the fact
Holy
that, like,
shit.
the setting, because it's in the desert. The setting is just like it's so beautifully like orange.
The contrast, the sky and
the sky is like so blue. The land is like so orange, and then you have like the vehicles are just like, even though they're covered in dust, like, sand and dust, I think it's just like the wheels. Everything just feels like so shiny
because they're chrome, shiny and chrome.
And then you have the war boys who are decked out in like white body paint, so they really stand out.
It's so fucking cool.
Then you have the girls who are all in like white.
They're just in white. Yeah.
Like, there are some shots where, like, I think it's one of the first shots that where Max, like Furiosa and Max. So Max eventually breaks apart from Nicholas Hoult.
Yes.
And it's like him and Charlize Theron, and then he sees like the five
women, yeah.
And there's just this one shot that you just like, you could screenshot this and make it a fucking painting.
Oh, 100%.
Because it's just the way that each
and there
girl,
are so many shots in
the way
this
that
movie
each
like
girl
that.
is like standing and like their dresses like blowing. It's like this fucking beautiful.
Oh, it's
like
amazing.
It's so beautiful.
This movie is like every frame a painting.
Really,
it's
really
very much so that.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely outstanding. On an aesthetic level, the Doof Warrior has to be one of the coolest creations of all time.
So fucking cool.
Imagine having a guitarist who has a very, very noticeable deformity in front of a literal wall of speakers playing a guitar that shoots fucking fire out of it. It's so George Miller.
And it's like things like that where you just go, yeah, this film just went, fuck it. Like, let's just lean all the way in.
All the way into that shit.
And you go, people, and you go, wow, they gave you so much money to do this.
$150 million. But it paid off because monetarily wise, it paid off. But it was nominated. I'm just looking now. Nominated for 10 Oscars. Won 6. I do remember it was like a fucking sweep.
It got nominated for Best Picture.
It got nominated for Best Picture, yeah. And then $150 million budget, made $380 million worldwide.
Which is why we got Furiosa.
Which is why we got Furiosa. But, right, so like aesthetically it looks great. Like the cinematography is fantastic. The performances are awesome across the board. Like this is Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron's movie. Without a doubt, they both are so fucking good in this movie, despite hating each other apparently on set.
And I recently there was like another. I think there's like a newer quote because of obviously George Miller's doing a lot of like press
Furiosa press at the moment, yeah.
And he basically was like Tom Hardy. He's like Tom Hardy very much like kept to himself.
Sure.
And he was like, and Charlize Theron is such a person that is like wants to talk.
She's a collaborator, right?
Collaborator.
Like, yeah.
So it's like, their personal styles didn't mesh up
Kept
well.
clashing.
He didn't want to, like, it was a case of, he didn't say anything. Charlize Theron was like almost like too afraid to ask anything because she was like, I don't understand why he's not giving me anything.
Yeah.
They're both, like, essentially they're both alpha personalities.
Yeah.
And it just...
But it wasn't communicated.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Eventually, I think they have both admitted like Tom Hardy's like I should have told her straight up like this is my process.
Yeah.
Charlize Theron should have been like, look, I'm someone who I need to hear what's going on.
Yeah.
They have kind of. I don't think it's a case of
like reconcile. They weren't becoming best friends from it.
They've both been like
they've outwardly said
we were both kind of. It was kind of a case of we were both at fault, but like the other person should have.
Yeah. Oh, it's a water under the bridge.
Yeah, Zoe Kravitz has been like the things that on set between those two. She was like it was like
heated.
It was heated. But it works for their performances because you get that these people don't necessarily they don't need it like they need each other.
They need each other to get to what they need to do. But
they don't like each other.
They don't have to like each other. No, that's the thing, and that's what kind of makes it. So cool because
it really works that you see that the frustration and hatred that they have. It really works for their characters.
It's so good and they're great. But so aesthetically it's great. The characters are great. But fuck me, the action in this film is unreal.
Oh, this is just obviously there are so many
my God.
like that main. You kind of look at it and go, I guess it's the main action sequence of just like I feel like from when Mad Max is like. He's in the car with
once he's in the war rig,
with the girls, and then it's like a full on chase, and then obviously because Nicholas Hoult, he then kind of goes along with Furiosa and Max because he realizes like the world, like the world that he's been enveloped in, and the men that he is kind of. They're not as like majestic as
it seems, right? Because all these war boys are promised a seat at the table in Valhalla with a Morton Joe if they, chrome themselves up and fucking
Morton
kill
Joe
themselves.
just being like, "You'll kill yourself for me," and I don't really care what happens to you.
No, exactly.
And we know
which
that
is very
what's going to happen to them is they die.
They die, and usually in very excitingly explosive ways. But that's sort of some of those scenes are unreal. Like the iconic shot is like the war boy with the 2 spears, explosive spears, like jumping into the car and it's exploding. The amount of fucking cars that flip and roll, and the polecat scene where the guys are on the fucking oh my days.
It's so fucking.
And the action doesn't just look amazing because of what they can pull off, but George Miller shoots it so kinetically, and there's such a frantic nature to it.
And that frantic nature is very much followed through in Furiosa.
I would agree.
Like Furiosa and Fury Road are very much like
they're in their
are like sister movies.
They're in their universe for sure because like it's just unreal. But like my complaint about the other Mad Max films being almost like too bare bones for their runtime. This one is probably the most bare bones story, but it has such good action as the filler.
Yeah.
The character motivations are really cool as well. Like there was no moment of Fury Road where I was like, this is boring.
Yeah.
Like I was hooked from start to finish with this movie.
It would be really like cool to like say for some reason, for whatever reason, George Miller couldn't make the Mad Max movies until much later.
Yeah.
It would be really fucking cool to see
What those
with
would
like
look
a
like,
bigger
yeah.
budget, what
They could look like,
a
right?
Mad Max movie could look like. Same story.
Yeah.
Obviously, maybe different.
Maybe not Mel.
Different actor at this point.
Maybe not Mel.
But like, then you would think the action would be as bombastic as it is, and maybe those scenes in the original trilogy that don't work as much, could they have been filled differently because there would be the monetary.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. I mean, like, because this is now 15 times the budget of Thunderdome.
Like, it'd be kind of like a Tom Hardy Mad Max quadrilogy would be pretty fucking cool.
It'd be very fucking cool. Like, it'd be in a world of its own.
Yeah.
For sure. But, like, this movie is just... Fuck, it's a good movie.
It is like a perfect action movie.
It really is. Because the stakes are high, the action's cool. Considering it's all set around one car chase, even the locations they go to in this film, like the varying nature of them all is still really exciting. Like, there is so much about Fury Road that I just truly, truly fucking love.
Yeah.
It is a 5-star movie for me.
Yeah,
it is a perfect action film, one that I have watched maybe 6 or 7 times. I've watched it twice this year already. Like, it is that fucking good. So, and the ending is kind of like, we could get more. We could get more with Max. We could get more with Furiosa.
That's what I do like about this. It very much like Fury Road is like it decides it could go either way with
you don't
each
need.
character.
I actually don't need Max and Furiosa to team up ever again.
No,
I don't.
and
I'm okay with that.
And I'm also happy if we never see either of their stories again.
Yeah.
In terms of not like I'm so glad that this is done. More of a case of like this just ends so perfectly for their characters because Furiosa is kind of then seen as the not she's the new Immortan Joe in terms of her motivation.
Yeah, totally.
Just the way that people look up to her.
Yes.
Like she actually gives them the hope that they believed Immortan Joe was giving them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's a beacon of hope now.
Whereas, and then Mad Max is like,
I just done what I do.
This was just another
unintentionally be a hero.
Yeah, this was just another footnote in my story.
And
basically.
I'm excited to see. I want Max to have more stories. Even Furiosa now, she has a prequel. I want to see more stories about that. I want to see more stories in the Wastelands. Like, Mad Max to me now is right for the picking.
And it's like, we could have another Mad Max movie that doesn't have Max or Furiosa in it.
100%.
But it could still be a Mad Max movie because it's in whatever world
this
he has
world,
created.
right? And George Miller has created such a fantastic world, and Furiosa builds on it like no other Mad Max movie has.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about Furiosa. I think the world building and the Mad Max lore is so rich in Furiosa. And it has the Fury Road action in it. There is bombastic.
There is one
holy shit,
main
man.
action sequence
that is just jaw-droppingly good.
It's like it involves people with kites and
Furiosa
is like under the truck.
Oh man, it's fucking mental.
It's like insane,
and it's generally about 15, almost 20 minutes long.
I think so. Yeah,
it's so good.
It's so good,
and that action is definitely more splintered throughout the film because this is a movie about Furiosa.
Yeah,
and how she became the Charlize Theron Furiosa.
Yeah.
I love Furiosa. I understand that there may be probably some criticisms in regard to its probably more significant use of CGI this time around.
Yeah,
I'll see why, but
that's going to be. I feel like that'll be something we'll see. The more people see it,
it didn't ruin the movie for me at all.
Yeah, I'm the same. It doesn't ruin it for me. I can see people being pissed off about it.
Also, the movie is good enough to be like you can forgive it.
Yeah,
I think people like me who really liked Anya Taylor-Joy's performance will probably somehow maybe find tough to fully connect it to Charlize Theron's Furiosa at points.
Yeah.
I think there's just some certain decisions that are made that you kind of go, okay, I need maybe a little bit more context of how this person became Furiosa. But it's almost like Furiosa would be film 1, I need a film 2, and then Fury Road's the next one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not mad if they would do that.
There are times though that
Cheesing. Oh, it's
like there's
spitting edge.
one particular line of dialogue
delivery,
that she says, and you don't see Anya Taylor-Joy when you
you're like,
hear
was
it,
that-
and I just went,
Was that
that was
Charlize?
Charlize Theron. Like it was insane. And then
It's- yeah.
the young actress that plays young Furiosa, Lila Brown.
Yes.
As we've said, I feel like there's some digital trickery with her
To make her look
because
like
she
Anya.
looks like a young and like because Lila Brown doesn't look like Anya Taylor-Joy.
No.
And then in this film, I was like, that is a young Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, I know what you. Yeah.
So I don't know what they've done with her, but it's incredible.
It's incredible.
And then Hemsworth.
Hemsworth
is
is so fucking good, man.
and he's so
As
and
Dementus.
he's so funny.
He's very
He
funny.
has some fucking incredible delivery of his lines.
And it's not in the way you would expect of like, oh, he's a conniving villain who has some off one-liners. Like, he's a conniving villain who can also be a fucking coward, and that's kind of great.
Yeah.
And I love it. But there's so much of Furiosa that I loved. I don't think it's as good as Fury Road.
I don't think
and
it's as good as Fury Road.
I think people should probably curb that expectation, especially on the action front.
That's
Like,
gonna,
it's still
I think that'll be
action-packed.
the most difficult thing that everyone
It's
is
not
going
Fury
to
Road
compare
2.
to Fury Road, and it's
But-
very much its own beast.
God damn it, is a Mad Max movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's a Mad Max
Yeah.
movie. And the one thing, I remember saying this to you and Tim afterwards, I was like, I would kill to see another George Miller Mad Max film. But what this movie does is it sets up so many interesting things within the Mad Max universe that I'd like to see what another director would do with a certain thing. I'd like to see what another director would do with this certain thing. Almost the same way. And obviously we're yet to see if it pays off, but Michael Sanowski doing A Quiet Place Day One.
Yes.
It's a Quiet Place movie, but it's a different story and it's a different
Yeah.
city. And he's a great director, so I'm excited to see what he's doing with that.
Yeah.
I would like to see what another director could do with a certain Mad Max story. There's one specific thing that this movie glosses over that I'm like, I want to see that movie.
Yeah, okay.
So Mad Max Furiosa Mad Max Saga is also fucking brilliant.
Yeah, and I just hope people turn out for it.
And based on the reaction to
Yeah.
our initial reactions, I think they might.
I don't want to see this fucking going to digital in 2 weeks after its release. I
No.
want this to be in cinemas for a really long fucking time.
Por favor.
And I also think that I feel like this could be a really big contender in award season.
I think it will be too. I think this and June 2 and Challenges are the three movies right now that we are
Yeah.
definitely going to be talking about a year from now or just
Yeah.
under a year from now. So,
Yeah, I think so.
all in all, Mad Max is a pretty goddamn consistent
It's a-
franchise,
yeah.
but it's flourishing in its last decade.
Yeah.
This last decade is where George Miller has like hit the biggest stride, and
Absolutely.
Furiosa is a winner. And we're excited for you guys to be able to see it when it comes out in Australian cinemas on May 23.
23rd.
Thank you to our friends at Warner Brothers. May 24th in the US. Like, we're not spoiling it for you. Like, you fuckers put
Yeah,
all
and
your
enjoy
challenges shit all over
and enjoy the
internet.
world premiere at Cannes.
That's so fucking petty of us.
Yeah. We rarely get this, okay?
No, it's true. It's nice.
and,
It's nice to be
and
able to be on the
it's
forefront.
It is actually going to really piss me off the amount of, you know what, the amount of probably people are going to film it in the cinemas
Yeah, I
in
know.
America. It's going to be all over the fucking timeline by its opening weekend.
Yeah.
Like,
Major
fucking
reveals.
Just let people enjoy things,
Major
for
reveals
fuck's
put
sake.
on Twitter. Just fucking give it a
Like,
weekend.
Jesus Christ.
Give it a fucking weekend,
Like,
guys.
oh no, you had to wait to see what like the tennis ball in the racket meant. Like,
Oh,
fuck's
man, I
sake.
hated that. That was all over anyway.
Anyway,
But let's not get mad.
all right, let's get Max.
No.
No,
Let's get bad. Whoop, whoop. So that was May for the monthly movie marathon, and you're going to get us pretty quickly back to
A
back.
nice little quick turnaround.
Nice quick turnaround on this one with the June episode of monthly movie marathon, which
Because what you gonna do?
What you gonna do when they come for you?
Bad boys, bad boys, bad boys, bad boys. Because we're listening to Bad Boys 4.
Bad Boys 4, or as it should have been known, Bad Boys for Life, but it's not that.
It's
So-
Bad Boys Ride or Die.
Ride or Die. It's coming out on June 6th, and we are unapologetic fans. Well, I am
Oh, I'm a fan.
an unapologetic fan of the Bad Boys franchise. So we will be watching in the lead up to Bad Boys Ride or Die, Bad Boys Bad Boys 2 and Bad Boys for Life, also known as Bad Boys 3.
Bad Boys Thrice?
Bad Boys for
Thrice for
Thrice.
life?
Bad Boys Get Thrice. You want to see a doctor for that one. But no, we're excited. Bad Boys Ride or Die, the trailer is fucking great. It looks like it's going to be such a beautiful love letter to all the Bad Boys films. There are shots in the trailer that are direct replicas of shots from Bad Boys 1 and 2, and I'm so excited.
And it'll be very interesting to see how a Will Smith movie is received.
Yeah, first theatrical release since the slap.
And like that, we like, even though it did benefit from the fact that it opened 2 months before the world shut down. Bad Boys 3, Bad Boys for Life, was the most profitable film of 2020.
And it was in my top 20.
With like 400,
it was actually in my top 10.
$400 million.
Fucking loved that movie.
It still would have been a profitable movie regardless.
No, it did.
But it really was like, I'm going to be the number one movie.
It then had no competition.
It had no competition for like a year and a half, basically.
But I'm not mad about that because I loved it. But we will be talking about the Bad Boys movies on the next episode of Monthly Movie Marathon. Until then, where can they find you on the internet, Peter Gray?
They can find me on the internet on X at RatedPDG,
Hell yeah.
Instagram at RatedPDG, Rotten Tomatoes, Peter Gray, GRAY. Or you could just look at some posters for a quote from me. And the AUreview.com, where by the time of this, I don't know if I have released it by yet, but my interview with Mr. George Miller will be out there in the world.
What will be up is our reviews.
Our reviews for Mad Max.
Because the review embargo at the time of this releasing was yesterday. It was yesterday.
Yeah.
But it's actually 2 days away for us now.
And where can they find you, Nicholas LeBarrow?
Nicholas LeBarrow, that's my mother's name. I don't know why I said that. You can find me on Instagram and X. Fuck me. On Nick's at nicksflicksfix. You can see all my 60-second to 90-second video reviews on there and clips from my interviews.
You can see my at 90 seconds. I promise I last longer than that.
90 seconds is actually really long for a guy. Instagram X nicksflicksfix, NovaStreamNetwork.com for the written reviews and interviews, where you will see my Furiosa reviews at both those locations. And check out 0 to 100. The other podcast Pete and I do, if you just type in 0 to 100 on Spotify, you'll find us going through every percentage of Rotten Tomatoes and the adjacent film to that percentage.
So by the time this episode drops, we would have just spoken about
episode 19.
Cats.
We did Cats.
What a fun time that was.
Released the butthole cut.
Yeah.
How'd you find the beanbags?
Very comfortable.
I am so comfortable.
Very comfortable.
I'm very comfy. And I realized halfway through I didn't do my hair before this episode, and I look like I look like a ragged piece of shit. But hey, that's all right. Anyway, love you all. Love and kisses. Ooh. Subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're on audio, make sure you follow on your preferred podcasting platform. And until the next episode of Monthly Movie Marathon, one thing we have to say is bye.